and listen to...
Not to Kasipul.
My people in Kasipul are still waiting to hear what's going to happen tonight. Wycliffe, okay, joining us from the lakeside city of Kisumu. Wycliffe, it's an interesting time to live in the country right now. I have got brilliant brains in studio. Kisumu city is relatively calm from what I can see. What else can you tell us? Good morning, Wycliffe.
Morning to you, Victor Olo from Nairobi. I equally have brilliant minds from this side of the country. Like you said, Kisumu is cool and calm. Like you say, people going about their businesses just usually. But then again, at the end of the day, we know there is big event going on at the Senate from actually from 9, that is 25 minutes from now. The Senate will be resuming its sittings to proceed with the scrutiny, or rather the impeachment proceeding, or rather motion that is before them regarding the special motion regarding the impeachment of the Deputy President Gachagua. The proceedings, we know, have been underway at the Senate since yesterday. We've had legal arguments, we've had evidential submissions from both from the National Assembly and also the other side of the Deputy President. But again, we know Kenyans have a lot to say about this entire process. And joining me from the lakeside now, I have two gentlemen. One, Isaac Oburu, from the civil society, a local civil society organization, and of course an advocate of the High Court, that is Clifford Obiero. Starting with you, Bwana Oburu, look into the camera and share with Kenyans this morning. I'm quite sure you've been following the proceedings at the Senate since yesterday, and this being the final day when the senators will be taking the vote. Do you believe that the evidential presentations or the submissions at the Senate and also the argument from both sides subject the Deputy President to a fair trial? Look into the camera.
Yes, I want to say that we have actually been treated to a different picture from what we saw during the parliamentary proceedings on the same matter. And watching through the proceedings yesterday, I want to say that a lot of new content, a lot of new information has been put on table, and at least that even puts the common mwananchi to be able to be a judge of the process. Unlike the parliamentary proceeding, even the processes were fast-tracked and did not give mwananchi a lot of the civic education that is now being employed, especially in order to be able to understand what are the violations that the Deputy President did really make, and leaving alone the politics, because we know he's a politician. We also know some of the utterances, even me personally, I was against. And at times I used to ask myself, are we really in Kenya, or this is a fairly regional imbalance being created by the office of the presidency, because the Deputy President sits in the same position as the President of the Republic of Kenya. So mine is to watch and see what will be transpiring again today, because I understand he will be he is a key witness today, moving in to defend himself. And I'll be interested in the cross-examination now, for him to now either be able to disown his own words, be able to interpret them in a manner for me to also make a new opinion about him, considering his political utterance that has led to this process. Yes.
This process started in the National Assembly. We had public participation at the constituency level, and now it is at the Senate. At the end of the day, the senators will take vote. From where you sit as a resident of the lakeside, do you believe the senators will be guided by the submissions they have been treated to at the Senate, or political affiliations will take center stage here?
Yeah, one truth in Kenya that we are politically inclined. We are also politically diffused, because now we know we are talking about a broad-based government, and that brings in a bit of some political inclination. And looking at how Parliament even voted, I may fail to understand that again Senate might vote the same way. But looking at the entire process, how it has been carried, there's a lot of value in the process. There's a lot of fairness in the process. Even if all the 11 counts might not hold and just one count found to actually hold weight in the current proceeding, but we shall be able to appreciate that the Deputy President was given a fair process. It is indeed also political, because we also want to get some political medicine, political solution to what is affecting the country. Because even moving forward, if he survives, then my question will be, then what will be his role compared to now we are being taken through the understanding of the roles of the Deputy President, and also as the unity of purpose in the government. So I'm failing to actually be able to project what will be the working relationship moving forward. Yes.
Actually, you've just touched on the question I wanted to ask you next. You've touched on fairness, and based on fairness, there are only two outcomes. The DP will survive, or he will be ousted through impeachment, yes. But then we've had public participation, Kenyans have spoken, but from where you sit, or from your position, what characteristics of a leader do you expect from the hold of that particular office? And still on the same breath, would you say that the DP is guilty of the charges that are being leveled against him?
From my public or my personal opinion, one, looking at how they came into government and what proceeded thereon, you'll be able to see the Deputy President kept on reaffirming to us, as especially people who come from this region, we easily felt we are not in the government. Just because he kept on reaffirming that this is a shareholding government. It depends on what contribution you brought on board. But again, he was missing the understanding that if the President Ruto was not there, maybe based on other natural factors, then he will actually become the president. Then my question will be, will the country still feel unified under his presidency, based on what the president had already said, proclaiming his position publicly, that if you are not, if you did not bring in value to the process or to this current system in terms of voting, then you are not counted in. So I would also want to get what is his presentation on that line before Senate. And I want to believe that he has also learned a lesson. He has also learned a lesson that once you're given a public position, a public leadership opportunity like what he had, he is no longer representing any region going over the tenets of the Constitution. Therefore, even people from this region, when I tell you don't touch the lake, we will actually mean that you not like a fisherman, or like when you tell me don't touch the mountain, I'm not going to do mountain climbing and tell me don't touch the mountain. But realistically, when you look at that, it's able to ground a very clear division in the country now that we are ethnically polarized as a country, and even looking at the experiences we had in 2007. And being a member of the civil society, we actually played a key role in being able to bring peace across among the various ethnic groups of young people all over the Kenya. And we want an institution that is also going to provide that cohesion as a country, as a key value of what makes us feel free, feel proud to be Kenyans.
And lastly for you, given the submissions you've been following the Senate since yesterday, at the end of the day, would you say what will be so fair for the DP? Will the senator, if the senators vote in his favor or against him, what will be so fair for him?
What will be fair for the deputy is that he should be able to accept the process and its outcome, looking at there are 11 counts that he is actually facing, and whichever count will carry the day. He must be able to say that actually he has now found a fair process in Senate compared to the National Assembly. And I think even Kenyans who might have thought this process was a diversion will also appreciate the level of civic engagement that we have been taken through And whatever the outcome, we will be able to say, yes, there was value in reasoning. Yes, there was value in according the Deputy President fair hearing. And also there is value that Kenya is one and the institutions need to be fair to every Kenyan.
Thank you so much, Isaac Obiero. Clifford, I would now like to engage you here. Very briefly, look into the camera. You are a legal practitioner. If you just look into the camera and talk to Kenyans, you've been following this, I'm quite sure. And would you say that this entire process, right from the National Assembly and now at the Senate, and this process is supposed to end today when the Senate does actually take the vote, has it been fair enough?
Okay, we cannot say that it's fair at the Senate if it was not fair in Parliament, in the National Assembly. We saw what happened in the National Assembly, and actually what's going on in the Senate is just trying to sanitize that went wrong in the National Assembly. Because if you ask me, there were everything wrong with everything that took place in the National Assembly. The issues that they were bringing around, the questions they were asking, and even the manner they were asking them will demonstrate that there were judges who had already been compromised. You can ask questions whereby even the person who is being tried already know the outcome, and you will see the member of National Assembly actually trying to joke around with the process. Look at even the public participation. That was a vote of no confidence to members of Parliament because it's not provided for in the law, but the judge sitting somewhere said that it's important that public participation takes place because one, at that particular stage there is no role of the public. The members of Parliament are supposed to be representing the public because they were elected to do so. That is some of the delegated roles that they were supposed to do. When they were now doing public participation, then it would mean that their capacity to engage the people on the ground was already defiled and questioned. But now that when they passed it with that majority, then it showed you that the rumors that were going by could be true, because that majority was also not, when you are in a meeting where everyone leaves and say everything is right without somebody questioning or trying to panel beat something, then either it is a predetermined meeting or everybody sitting there is a fool. I'm sorry to use that. But not in the context of Parliament, in the context of the society. But now we are in the Senate, and we were able to follow what was taking place there, and I can tell you that is why they deserve to be called the upper house. Seated from where I was, trying to eliminate myself from the Gachagua in the field, trying to give Gachagua a fair hearing as I would give to my two children who disagreed, then I was seeing questions that again we need to ask and ought to have even been asked in the National Assembly. You could see people who actually brought some evidence here, stammer, with some things that are not even making sense. My expectation is that by the time they are going to vote, then they are supposed to do what it ought to be, not what it is, as we know as Kenyans. What is it that it ought to be? What it ought to be is that they were sitting there in the capacity of judges as a tribunal, quasi-tribunal, so to speak. And we are expecting the submissions that were being made yesterday to be persuasive to how they are going to vote today. We expect people who could have been having an idea will have changed because of probably how tough questions were not answered and how people stammered and kind of whatever. I'm not saying so because I am probably pro Gachagua politics. I'm one of the people who did not agree with the manner in which he carelessly spewed comments and handled things administratively around. But when it comes to the court of law, we expect to the court of law or a tribunal, you expect to subject someone to something that you would have been happy if you are subjected to. We remove the Gachagua out of him. Let us look at him as a Kenyan citizen who has laws that are supposed to regulate his sittings. And then we give him a fair hearing, regardless of the disagreements that we may have and the perception that we may hold.
And again, at the end of the day, the senators will take the vote later in the evening today. And 45 senators at least 45 are required to vote to determine the fate of the deputy president. In your opinion, where does this place the country? Should the DP get impeached or not?
The reality of the matter is that the impeachment of the president, similar to the impeachment of the deputy president, is determined in finality in the Senate. And trust me, the decision that is made there cannot even be reviewed in the court of law. You know that. And in such a circumstance, the decision is going to be made by the senators that we have there. and they must meet the fraction that is required by the statute. So what we expect them to do today, even as we will be watching, we expect them to set a precedent, knowing very well that Gachagua is on it today, but this is not the last time we are having a deputy president. Another deputy president could be voting against Gachagua today, and you set a threshold that you will be happy if one day the same is subjected to you. So let us not do it because it is Gachagua. Let us do it knowing very well that this thing will be cited and people will be using it as precedent going forward, so that in subsequent sitting, if Orengo becomes the deputy president, he has said something that he will be happy if he's subjected to the same scale. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Victor, that is Wakili talking to us about the entire process of the special motion regarding the impeachment of the deputy president. Earlier on, you heard from another gentleman from the Lakeside City, that is Isaac Oburu, also giving his opinion. All they are pointing to the to one direction by the fact that they need, in their opinion, the entire process has been fair. The Senate, yes, and on the same part, they are expecting a sober judgment at the end of the day. You know, the senators will be taking the vote later in the evening after the cross-examination, the submissions, the legal arguments from both sides. Now the senators will be taking their vote on this particular special impeachment, and they here speaking of saying that they expect sobriety to take precedence, even as the voters, the senators will be taking the vote later in the evening. But something they've been quick to notice is the fairness and sobriety that has manifested at the Senate in comparison rather with the National Assembly. And on that bit, they are confident and adamant that the same fairness that has been exhibited there will again be exhibited when the senators will be taking the vote regarding the special impeachment of the deputy president. Well, this is a continuous process. We are not leaving it here. We'll continue to engage more of the residents of Kisumu to understand what they have to say about this entire process. But for now, Victor, I know you have, you said you have brilliant minds in the studio, and now I'm handing it back to you to continue the live discussion right in studio. Back to you, Victor.
All right. Okay, that is Wycliffe Okech coming to us all the way from Kisumu County. And of course, that is those are some of the sentiments from the voters, residents of Kisumu, giving their opinion in as far as this case is concerned.